Hi everyone, Stacy Whiter here on behalf of Campus Mortgage with part 2 of a 3-part video series on FHA requirements for construction to perm loans. Now just a quick reminder before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice or used in place of FHA guidelines. Also, this video was issued on June 5th, 2018, and the information contained in this video is subject to change without notice. So in part 1, we talked about the eligibility requirements. We talked about the maximum mortgage calculation. In part 2 of this 3-part video series, we're going to talk about the minimum required investment and the mortgage interest rate requirements. And then in part 3, we're going to finish up with closing requirements. So let's take a look at the minimum required investment by the borrower. Now, on the construction to perm loan, the standard FHA investment applies. So they'll still have to have their 3.5% down payment. But any cash that's invested into the acquisition of the property may be applied as long as the lender can meet the following requirements. So the lender must document the source of cash investment. So if the borrower put a cash deposit down on the land, that can be used as long as the lender verifies that that was an acceptable source. Again, the lender must document the cost and date of the land purchase. So if the land was purchased prior to the construction loan closing, the lender needs to document that. An example would be getting a closing disclosure. Also, any borrower paid or out-of-pocket expenses paid by the borrower over and above the contract specification and not included in the builder's price must be documented by the lender to ensure the source. And all of those items must be on the list, must be itemized. So the lender needs to ensure whatever was paid by the borrower out of pocket and over and above the specifications, any funds used to pay for those must be an acceptable source according to FHA guidelines. All right, now let's talk about the mortgage interest rate. So when it comes to a construction to perm loan, typically the rate will be adjustable during the construction period and then convert to a fixed rate. But FHA specifies that the lender and borrower must enter into an agreement that documents the range in which the rate may float during construction. Also, that documents the point of interest rate lock-in. So it tells the borrower at what point they can or they should lock in the interest rate for the permanent financing. And it must specify that the permanent mortgage will not exceed a specific maximum rate. It's very important. Also, this agreement must allow the borrower to lock in at a lower rate if possible if they're floating. So for example, most lenders will allow some sort of float down option, or if they're not locked in, the lender must give the borrower the option to float down to a lower rate if the market rates have changed. Also, very important, when the lender is qualifying the borrower, they cannot qualify them on the adjustable floating rate that's during the construction period. They must qualify them on the maximum permanent rate. All right, that concludes part 2 of this 3-part video series. Make sure you watch part 3 and we'll go through closing requirements. Thanks so much for watching. For more tips and videos, please visit campusmortgage.org to look for their weekly mortgage video tips designed for all mortgage professionals, including underwriters, loan officers, processors, closers, and post-closers. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.